Obviously, the Africa Cup of Nations is not your ordinary tournament. Like we say in Africa, the AFCON is not your mate, and this is proving to be well true. The AFCON is an incredible tournament. It's a tournament that unites Africans and goes beyond football. Clearly, this particular tournament has exhibited the true nature of African football and what Africans think about football. The typical founders of African football, this is what they thought about when they said, let's create something for Africans, and it is purely African football. There is something that has become very permanent with African game. There is something that has become part and parcel of the AFCON, and a lot of experts refer to it as the AFCON case. What is the AFCON case? I'm sure a lot of you have followed the AFCON so far. Clearly, strikers that you may never have heard before, players, defenders that you may never have heard of their clubs before, standing toe-to-toe with the best on the continent and in the world. Incredible to see a striker from Cabo Verde pocketing Mo Salah, a player who strolls past the fastest of defenders in the English Premier League, and of course even in the Champions League. Now, that is the AFCON. What is the AFCON case and the spell? Well, let me run you through this. So, Egypt have been very dominant in the African Cup of Nations for so many years, and clearly this is a team that holds the record for the number of trophies won by any team in the competition. And the record wins ended in 2010 when they defeated Ghana 1-0 in Angola. With a very strong team of Hadari, Wael Goma, Hossam Ashor, Abdul Gali, Hossam Hassan, so many top players, including their super sub, Nabi Gedo. These were the guys who were expected to stroll past again in the tournament in 2012 and win it. But then, Egypt failed to even qualify. So the spell is that since 2010, no defending champion of the African Cup of Nations has gone past the round of 16. Listen again. No defending champion of the African Cup of Nations, regardless of their form and the caliber of players and coaches they bring to the tournament, has ever gone past the round of 16. Let's say even the group stages, because only one has ever gone past the round of 16. Why is this so? Is it truly an African case? Well, like I mentioned earlier, in 2012, Egypt came to this tournament with some of the best players on the continent. They had won the trophy in 2008, with Hosni Aburabu as the best player, coming in again with Hassan Hadari, Hossam Ashor, Abdul Gedo, Mohamed Zidane, and all of them. But then, after winning the 2012 edition, Egypt failed to qualify for the tournament proper in 2012 Gabon. They were knocked out by no other team like Central African Republic. Remember, Egypt had that American coach, Bob Bradley. He took charge of the team and failed to qualify, being eliminated by Central African Republic. So that is where the case or the spell of the AFCON defending champions actually started. But in 2012, the tournament was won surprisingly by Zambia, the Chipolopolos, after so many years of going through the misery, won the tournament under Hervé Renard, the Fox. Came in with players like Christopher Katongo, Kennedy Mwene, Chisamba Lungu, Chisadino, Stopila Sunzu, Emmanuel Mayuka, Nathan Sinkala, a whole lot of top African stars in that team. After Zambia won it, they had a very young team, and so it was thought that 2013 would be an incredible year. That was the time for Zambia to return to the African Cup of Nations and showed properly their might and proved to Africa that they did not win in 2012 by some 9-day wonder. But of course, Zambia came to the AFCON in 2013 after winning in 2012 and failed to win a single game. Remember, they played 3 consecutive draws in the group stage and were eliminated. the spell had been cast again. Zambia were out. In 2013, when Zambia, the defending champions, were knocked out in the group stages, that was an opportunity, of course, for the big boss, may his soul rest in peace, Stephen Curśé and Nigeria, with the likes of Godfrey Obobona, Emmanuel Emenike, and all the top players, including Mikel Obi, Sunday Mba, who scored in the final against Burkina Faso, came into the tournament. Nigeria won it in 2013 in South Africa. And then Nigeria, with a very young squad, Stephen Curśé had his contract extended and they were expected to come into 2015 AFCON in Equatorial Guinea and perform miracles. But see what? Nigeria failed to even qualify for the tournament proper. Nigeria failed to qualify for the tournament in 2015 after winning it in 2013 in South Africa. So the spell had been cast again on the Super Green Eagles of Nigeria. Listen again. This is the AFCON case for defending champions. Nigeria are now out of the AFCON after winning it in 2013 with virtually the same crop of players that won in 2013. In 2015, they failed to qualify. You remember Tokelo Rantier, the South African player who came to Uyo and scored 2 brilliant goals against Nigeria to kick them out of the AFCON. That is the spell of the AFCON defending champions. And in 2015, La Côte d'Ivoire won it against Ghana, of course, in that marathon penalty shootouts. I want to forget about this moment in Malabo against Ivory Coast. Ghana against Ivory Coast. They won with the likes of Max Alain Gradel, Boubacar Barry, Yaya Toure, Siaka Tieni, and all the top stars that they could parade in that tournament. Ivory Coast won it under Hervé Renard, and they were expected to defend the trophy because they had a very young squad. And guess what? In 2015, they've won it. Ivory Coast came in 2017, and what was the story? Ivory Coast was in Group C with DR Congo, Morocco, and Ivory Coast failed to win a single game in 2017 after winning it in 2015. The AFCON case had been cast. It was regardless of the squad that they had. Nobody cares about who you have in your team as a defending champion. The spell is always going to be cast. And so there was an opportunity for a newly reconstituted Cameroonian side. The Indomitable Lions came into this tournament with a whole lot of players after some of the senior players of the team had opted out of the squad, and Hugo Bruce put together a very formidable team led by Fabrice Ondoa. You remember Vincent Abubakar's tournament. There was Ngalu, there was Nkono, a whole lot of big name players, and then Christian Bassogog, the MVP of the tournament in 2017 in Gabon. Cameroon have won it, and this was the time to rebuild the team. If the first period of rebuilding has led to the team winning the AFCON, then obviously Cameroon were in for proper things the subsequent tournament in 2019 in Egypt. And guess what? The AFCON spell was cast again. In 2019, Cameroon came into the tournament and were in the same group with Ghana, and at the end of the day qualified alongside Ghana with 5 points. But then in the round of 16, Cameroon were undone by the Super Eagles team of Gallo and co. And so Cameroon were eliminated, knocked out of the AFCON as defending champions. We don't do this here. This is the AFCON. Nigeria said pack and go home. Cameroon were eliminated regardless of the team they had. Nobody cares about who you are. When you come to the AFCON as a defending champion, you will pack your baggage regardless of the team, regardless of your coach. The defending champions will never have their day again at the AFCON. This is an incredible stat that has repeated consistently at the AFCON. Cameroon were knocked out in the round of 16 by an unfancied Nigerian side. The AFCON spell had been cast again. Now let's come to 2019 when Cameroon were knocked out. An opportunity for Jamal Bemaldi and his well-drilled Algerian side, led by the left-footed Riyad Mahrez, there was Belaili, there was Ben Sabaini, Sofiane Feghouli, all of them together. What happened in 2019? They won it in class. Algeria have won it. They have put together the same team to come back to 2021. As defending champions in Cameroon, Algeria were in the group with Cote d'Ivoire, Equatorial Guinea, and Sierra Leone. It was to be easy for them. The pundit had already predicted a qualification for Cote d'Ivoire and Algeria, the defending champions. And guess what? They failed to win a single game. Remember, they failed to win a single game. Listen again. The defending champions of Riyad Mahrez and co, Sierra Leone and Equatorial Guinea said, pack your bag. Remember the spell. Go back to Algiers. Algeria was sent packing with Jamel Belmadi and co. The spell had been cast. Opportunity in 2021 for the perennial underachievers then, Senegal, to win it. The pulsating penalty kicks in Yaoundé. Cameroon versus Senegal versus Egypt in the final. At the end of the day, Senegal have been crowned champions of the AFCON for the first time in their history. Defending champions, solid team, fantastic youth setup, same coach, Aliou Cisse, same captain, Kalidou Koulibaly, same goalkeeper, Eduardo Mendy, same talisman, Sadio Mane, with the infusion of young players like Nicolas Jackson, Lamine Camara, Habibou Diallo, and co. Crepin Diatta is now informed. There is Abou Diallo and all of them. Everybody tipped Senegal. Forgetting about the spell. In Africa, we don't joke with our superstition. We don't joke with the spell. The AFCON curse on the defending champions was to strike, and this time in a more particular and remarkable manner. Remember, the host nation Ivory Coast have won their first game against Guinea-Bissau. They lost their next two games against Nigeria and, of course, Equatorial Guinea. Humiliatingly, by 4-0. They were done and out. Everybody thought that Ivory Coast had been knocked out. They had to wait till the last day of the group stage games to rely on the benevolence and generosity of Morocco. To beat who? Zambia. Morocco did it fantastically, and there were wild jubilations in Korogo, San Pedro, Abidjan, and Bouaké, Yamoussoukro. Ivory Coast have qualified. Then the draw came out. They meet Senegal. People were apprehensive, tensed. Why Senegal? This is a team that have been cutting through other opponents like a team that has been cutting through opponent like bread knife, cutting through bread. So how do we face Senegal? Pessimism across. They had even sacked their coach, Curśé, brought in a 40-year-old MS Fire. MS Fire put a team together to meet Senegal. 90% of pundits in Africa say Senegal will be going through, looking at the nature of the Ivorian team. Guess what? Senegal scores first, 4th minute or so. Is the game a done deal? Of course it's done. Late embers of the game. Penalty. Who to take? Curśé meets goalkeeper Mendy, and it's a goal. Wild jubilations in Yamoussoukro. Can they do it? Is a spell being cast again? Penalty shootout. Pupo, pepa, pomfre fram. Senegal have been knocked out. The defending champions have failed in 14 years to go past the group stage, to go to the round of 16. None have ever got into the quarterfinals, ever. How is this not a spell? The AFCON is not your mate. Come with Ronaldo, Messi, Pello, whoever, to lead your attack. If you are the defending champion with Mourinho and Pep on your bench, with Arsene Wenger and Ferguson as your technical directors, come into the AFCON, Gambia will knock you out as the defending champion. This tournament is more than football. This is the AFCON. We don't do that here. Whoever wins this tournament must be ready to prepare that they either don't qualify or they qualify, come and exit in the group stage. The best they can do is to go to the round of 16 and pack their baggage, because the AFCON case is stronger than our apartheid. Thank you very much for watching. We love African football and we continue to support African football. These are some of the things that makes our continent and its football unique and supreme to all. It's the AFCON. Go on. More games coming up. More stories coming up. Thank you.